I think for any international travel, I think that 18 days is like the minimum, I think.
I mean, you can't really get a good flavor of the places and the people because, it takes a while to do all the touristy stuff, but you want to go off the beaten path and really get a unique sense of that local culture, man. And it does take time to do that.
Ronaldo's a GOAT, but Messi is in that extra category.
Oh, yeah. He's in rarefied air for sure.
Like Tom Brady,
Michael Jordan,
Michael Jackson, Kobe Bryant, those extras, the extra. Elon Musk is an extra, you compare him there. Alex Karp of Palantir, I'm a big fan of him. I don't know if you watched him speak, but
those are one of one guys.
You get it. Trump, Donald Trump.
I told you that this was going to happen.
You said it was going to fall apart in 2 weeks. You were right on that, by the way. You were right on it falling apart in 2 weeks. Given the amount of effort and energy that was put on everybody's side, and they met there and they signed, and the signing and the ceremony, I'm very surprised.
Iran understood the entire time that they have leverage. And the main leverage they have, as I've mentioned in previous podcasts, is over that strait.
Overseers.
Answer me this, Chris. As of today, which of the two approaches has been more effective?
Neither. They're both in the same boat.
You cannot objectively say
the
that.
Main objective
with a straight face. You can't objectively say that. In order to change the rules, it actually has to be a constitutional amendment. They can't just vote on it.
You got to take away the incentive to stay in Congress and to stay in Senate.
I'm guessing 27, 28, there's going to be a major market correction and people are going to fall by the wayside. Something's amiss in the stock market, and it's just a matter of time before the market corrects. Growing up, their entire lives, they've lived in a bubble. They've always been told they're the best. They've always been the best at everything they've done athletically. And so people would come around them, and it was very difficult for them to know who to trust.
Welcome to the Family Office, planning for the people who matter most.
Asha, have any vacation plans before summer's over, or are you guys... Is it for you guys? Summer end like at the end of August, like a normal summer? Like, remember traditional summer ended like right after Labor Day? Do you guys do that still, or we do? I don't know about. I mean, my kids still got back to school, but that's like my summer. My summer comes after they go to school, which is on the 11th, because they get out in like May 18th here. So they've got a really long summer, but my summer comes after that, unless I ship them away, which didn't happen this year. So are you guys doing anything? How does it work for you guys?
So Tasha's going to be going back to work in a week, but we are actually going to be going to Ghana in September.
No way.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's getting ready to be our 30th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
So, thank you, man. Thank you. So we'll be celebrating it out there in Ghana. So we're excited about it. And what's cool is that our son is going to be going, our younger son's going to be going.
Very cool.
And then also both of our god kids will be there as well, and some of our friends as well. So it's going to be a pretty large group of folks that are out there. And so we'll escape, for our 30th wedding anniversary, hang out, have a good time. But yeah, it's going to be good. So we're really excited about it.
How long are you guys going to be in Ghana for?
This time only 10 days. So usually when we go, it's usually like around between 14 and 18 days, but it's going to be a little shorter this time. We've got a lot going on. So
I think for any international travel, I think that 18 days is like the minimum, I think, if you're going to go somewhere.
Yeah. Now we've been there a lot of times. So
it's different
for us. Yeah, especially there. But I agree. I mean, you can't really get a good flavor of the places and the people because, it takes a while to do all the touristy stuff, but you want to go off the beaten path and really get a unique sense of that local culture, man. And it does take time to do that. And then even within that 18 days, you can build relationships, and it's amazing how nice people are around the world.
Yeah. I mean, even for me, if I go to Cancun or something like that, I still think a week or like the normal 5 to 7 day kind of thing that most people do. I think it's too short because literally like the first 2 days to probably 3 days, I'm acclimating and I'm just kind of like settling in and you're getting things squared away. And then for me, it's like, I need at least 14 days.
Really? I'm totally the opposite.
At least.
That's crazy because like when we go to like places like Costa Rica or Cancun or the Bahamas, I want to get there and I want to get moving as soon as we get there.
Yeah.
So I'll plan my sleep on the trip, on the plane ride. And then when I'm there, I don't want to waste any time in the room or any of that stuff, man. I want to get out. And by like day 5 or 6, I'm usually ready to come back.
I can rot in a room for a week.
Is that right?
Before I move. I mean, especially if you have like, especially if you're going to a nice place and you have like butler service and you have a swim out, you have like, for example, if you have a status, like if you, one of the easiest things that I took advantage of when I traveled a lot, especially when I was doing insurance heavily, is we should think of a term to talk about that because it's both in the same category, but you understand what I'm saying. And I got ambassador status with Bonvoy, and I've had it for like 5 years. And I got it because everywhere I'd go, I'd stay in a Bonvoy property. So it was like, I got all the status. I mean, I was paying for it. It wasn't like a corporate thing, but still I took advantage of all that movement and I got, and I learned that game, you know, same with United, linking them, all that stuff. So automatically I know I'm getting a room upgrade, but if I can get like a Cancun thing and I get a swim out, so I don't even have to leave my room. I got butler service and a swim out. I'm going to rot in there for a week and then recharge. And then I'm going to be able to go and explore the city, like walk around local stuff, all of that good stuff. And then that's like, you know, 2 weeks. Now I'm ready to sit in the resort for maybe 3 or 4 days and then 3 or 4 days to come back. And then I get home and I need at least 2 to 3 days to adjust when I get home. So
take your vacation from your vacation, right?
A vacation really serious should be about 30 days, like really a good solid 30 days. Do you agree or you disagree?
No, I totally disagree. Because like I said, like once I'm at a place, I want to get up and running and then I want to get out. I want to explore. I want to be outdoors. So usually my mentality when I'm away is my hotel room is there for me to sleep. And if we, you know, upgrade to a suite, you know, we might hang out a little bit longer at night and a little bit later in the day. But other than that, man, we're up and out. I'm ready to go. Now, my wife used to be like you, where she would want to hang out and just relax. I got to get out, man.
Yeah, I totally read you on the get out thing, but I put a lot more emphasis on the rotting thing now as I get older. I'm like, well, I want to do both. So, I mean, why not? Right. And it's, I mean, if it works, it works. But
absolutely. I can see why you do that, you know, especially when you go to a different place and you can get really nice hotel accommodations. And one thing that I found is in a lot, especially like Latin countries, like the service is so phenomenal. Yeah. And and you know, and it is other places, but I would say in my experience between, I would say Latin America, or, you know, like Argentina, Brazil, Cancun,
right
Mexico.
Cry right now.
Oh man, let's. I
don't
know
cry,
that's crazy.
So
you were going for Argentina, huh?
Of course.
Interesting.
And I was, you know why? I mean, we went and saw
Messi out there at El Clasico
in 17, so I've been a fan ever since then. Yeah. But yeah, it was a little, but it was a good game. It was a good game. Yeah. It was good. I just wish that they wouldn't have played safe like they did. I was waiting for them to just be barbarous like they normally are, and they were barbarous in the normal. A lot of people call it thug. They're thuggish, but I don't like to call them that because I think that's more like in the Raiders category. I think the Raiders are thuggish. I don't think Argentina is thuggish. I think Argentina is just, they're barbarous, they're visceral, and they push the fine line of everything in their play style. And I felt like they were doing that except for making plays and actually going and scoring. So I was looking at them and going, why are you not guys being ferocious with and you saw that with the attempts, like the attempts versus, and Spain was just not just, I mean, it was only a matter of time when you have that much momentum.
Oh yeah.
It was relentless, but it was still a good game. I mean, it was great.
Now, did you see the picture with Messi and Lamine Yamal? So Messi was probably in his 20s and Yamal was a little baby. And there was Did you see that?
He baptized him or something like that, I think.
It was some kind of like random promotional where they were promoting something and it just happened to be that baby and he was giving him a little bath and later on they end up playing each other in the World Cup finals. Like, what's the likelihood of that? That is so nuts.
I think it just
Messi was part of, FC Barcelona. So obviously, that Spanish connection, as you know. So that's just crazy, the likelihood of something like that happening.
Well, I wonder about how that was. I mean, it just, to me, I think it just goes to just how impactful Messi is as an individual, not just as, in the world of football, but FIFA, soccer. He's
and Miami as well.
And Miami. I mean, he's just impactful everywhere. He has an impact everywhere. And I think that just speaks to just the way he is. I mean, he's a phenom, and he's a phenom. He's one of those phenoms where there are goats and there are people, but then there's like that extra category. And Ronaldo's a goat, but Messi is in that extra category.
Oh, yeah. He's in rarefied air for sure.
Like Tom Brady,
Michael Jordan,
Michael Jackson, Kobe Bryant, those extras, the extra. Elon Musk is an extra, if you compare him there. Alex Karp of Palantir, I'm a big fan of him. I don't know if you watched him speak, but
yeah, but those are one of one guys.
You get it. Trump, Donald Trump.
No. Maybe I'm the worst category.
Speaking of,
it's good that we didn't call the end of our bet, because not to minimize what's going on, but I told you that this was going to happen.
You said it was going to fall apart in 2 weeks. You were right on that, by the way. You were right on it falling apart in 2 weeks.
And I'm
surprised.
Tragic,
I'm surprised,
man.
I'm surprised.
Tragic.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking 17 of the soldiers killed so far in combat, and there's actually one missing around the Jordan border.
Jordan, from like over Saturday or Sunday or something like that.
Yeah, man. So it breaks my heart to see how people's lives are being, just tossed around, because if you look on the Iranian side as well, I mean, there's a lot of men, women, and children that are civilians being killed, way more than 17. It's just never, war is always bad.
What do you think about with this situation? And I mean, we can go back and forth on it, and I understand that. I'm very surprised. I'm very surprised that, and I think Trump is surprised too, to a little bit degree, but I'm very surprised that Iran violated the MOU by attacking. I mean, because that attack was unprovoked. The violation of the MOU was from them hitting the ships Monday or Sunday or something, right? That's what the whole thing was. The commercial vessels, they struck 3 commercial vessels last Monday. I'm surprised that they, and maybe it is outliers, like people the extreme right radicals that don't agree, obviously, Len, with the change and are holding on. But I'm very surprised that they didn't contain that, given the fact that they postured and went to Pakistan, they did all this, the negotiations, all these things they see the writing on the wall. You see all these Middle Eastern countries are in mass rush now to bypass the strait completely. I'm very surprised that they did it that way. I'm very surprised. But on the other side of it, I'm like, well, that's just who they are. But I'm surprised that, given the amount of effort and energy that was put on everybody's side, and they met there and they signed, and the signing and the ceremony, I'm very surprised. I'm surprised. I'm actually, I don't know what else to say by that, Len. I'm surprised that they did it this way, because Trump's not going to flinch with that. I mean, that is plain and simple.
Yeah. I wish I could say I was surprised, but
you're surprised you're not surprised they violated it, or you're surprised they violated it?
No, I'm not surprised at all.
But given everything, why would they, Len? I mean, they got a deal. They're in negotiations. Peace is there. You have the ability to exit this once and for all, and you're going to go and violate it without any. Israel wasn't attacking. There was no provocation that they claimed. They're just, hey, we just want to do this because we want to do this now. I mean, well, it's crazy to me. Okay. But again, it proves my point that Trump had that in the back of his head, that he was just going to let it get out of jail free card. Hey, let them step over each other and let them show the rest of the world that this is who they are.
Well, I look at it a bit differently. And what I mean by that is that, okay, Iran understood the entire time that they have leverage. And the main leverage they have, as I've mentioned in previous podcasts, is over that strait. And so when other vessels try to exercise moving around on the bottom part of the Strait of Hormuz near the other border, Iran said, no, 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 these aren't on our terms. So under no circumstances was the Iranians going to allow other ships to pass through without having a say in it. And so because they didn't allow those other ships to pass through, then the United States decided to respond back. And so the violation from the Iranians' perspective is that they didn't go through them to get through the strait, because the Strait of Hormuz at the time of the MOU was still kind of nebulous. Either side didn't
but
really
it was agreed upon that it was
define.
But in the MOU, it was free passage to the Strait of Hormuz. So they shouldn't have meddled at all. That was in that memorandum.
Okay. So, but again, they were still in the process of negotiation because it was still based on ships going through based on Iran's terms, not just the United States. And so
there wasn't any terms though with that. That wasn't it.
Well, it wasn't specified, but that's the whole point though, Chris.
I understand what you're saying.
So the whole point is that because things are not clearly written, both sides get to decide how the words written on the MOU is interpreted. And so Iran said, look, in order for you to go to the Strait of Hormuz, you have to go through us. You have to do business with us. And so in order for that to happen, you got to come through our run. No, it was
clear
not.
That there was no tolls and no tolls, free passage.
That's not what the MOU said. It was not clear.
Let's
it's
make sure why you're
interpretation.
doing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So MOU 14 points.
We're both doing it at the same time. Let me ask you this while you're looking it up, because you're probably going to do it faster than me, Len. But even though that is what it is, and what you're saying is, what gives them the right to unilaterally say we're now going to oppose or insert our subjugation over the control of international waterways? When do they get to this? What gives them, or what allows them now to say, hey, we can control this international waterway now?
Good question.
What gives them the ability? And I know you're going to say, well, because Trump came back and opened that rabbit out of the hat, but I don't think I don't agree with that, because you're telling me on one hand, they're super smart, but on the other hand, they didn't see that in front of them. I think that this has been going on. This cat and mouse game has been going on for a long time. And go ahead.
Well, the reason why I had that facial expression is because the strait was open. Cargo ships were going through back and forth. You asked me the question, so I'm going to answer it. So because the strait was opened and United States and Israel decided to attack, once that happened, that changed the whole calculus of everything. And
But why did it change it? They just had this bright idea all of a
because
sudden?
Iran knew they needed a rationale to be able to control the Strait of Hormuz.
I understand that. That makes sense.
And there was still a question in their mind, because remember, the United States has been the superpower, the global dominant superpower since the end of World War II. So you don't necessarily go and poke the bear just because, if you're not provoked. Now, what happened is Iran is a hornet's nest, and the United States and Israel decided to poke the hornet's nest. And so they said, okay, well, we may not be able to beat you, but we're going to sting you 1,000 times. You're going to think twice. And that's what happened. And so what gave them the right was getting bombed on preemptively. And so when that happened, that opened up everything. And for them, the terms of war is different, Chris. They fight on a different. For them, for some of them, it's a spiritual holy war.
It's a holy war.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand that.
So let's look at. I've got the 14 points.
Which, by the way, when you're saying that, while you're looking at those 14 points, which further, and you use the hornet's nest, which further illustrates why eventually this problem was going to have to be dealt with, whether we like it or not. Eventually, somehow, some way, there's going to be a conflict in that area of the world.
That was called the JCPOA, Chris.
And Len, that JCPOA was violated as soon as they started enriching uranium and kicked out the UN overseers.
Answer me this, Chris. As of today, which of the two approaches has been more effective?
Neither. They're both in the same boat.
You cannot objectively say
The
that
main
with
objective
a straight face. You can't objectively say that,
How?
Chris,
The main
with a straight face.
The main objective of the JCPOA was to not enrich uranium and produce nuclear weapons. They did that.
Okay.
And to allow UN inspectors to come in, they violated that. On day one, they violated it. Or maybe not day one, but they violated it by not allowing those independent UN inspectors to come in, and they enriched uranium and they had a nuclear program.
But that's a different issue altogether. I said as of today, which approach has been more effective? I didn't say which approach has been 100% effective. I said which one's been more effective.
Well, if you're asking about it, if you're asking which one has been more effective, obviously right now with Trump, because we're having a long-term solution play out in front of us.
No, brother, no. You cannot objectively say that.
How do you not see the long-term solution?
Okay, tell me what the long-term solution is and how that's working out right now.
We're making the Strait of Hormuz obsolete.
No,
that takes away Iran's only point.
That was never the initial intention.
I would be very surprised if there wasn't intel that they were lining and mining that strait for a very long time and just preparing for this.
Who? The Iranians?
Iran? Iran.
Okay, I'll give you that as a possibility. But here's the thing. They've been preparing for this war for years.
Exactly what I just said. They knew they were going to do this with the strait.
But I'm objectively conceding to that point because my question was, of the two, which has been more effective? And you cannot tell me with 17, go talk to the 17 people whose child died in this war.
That's not fair. Hold on. All right. Since you brought it that way, let me tell you this, because I don't like war. And we all know nobody likes war. And Americans don't like war. By default, we don't. Since you went that way, though, Len, look, regardless of what you want to say, let's just completely strip it down to the bare bones. Okay? To the barest limbic, animalistic lizard brain.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Instinctual. Let's bring it down to the instinctual level. They had it coming. Since the moment they opened their mouth, took over control of that country, and said death to America and Israel, they had it coming. Now,
sticks and stones, man. Sticks and stones break bones. Words, bro. They're saying words.
Words are more. But Len,
they're saying words, Chris.
Words are more deadly, though. Words are more deadly.
Tell me how many people were killed from 1979 to the time the United States.
Thousands of people that we'll never know.
Of the United States, people from the United States. Tell me how many people were killed by saying death to America. You can't take my question and apply to their own people. No, brother.
Okay.
Come on, Chris. Chris. Be intellectually honest with this part, bro.
It is. The second they said death to America and created death and war and whatever else you want to call it via their proxies, because they don't do it directly. Since that day, they had it coming to them. They did. And Len,
why is it for us to decide that, Chris? They didn't come and attack anybody in America. They did not attack people on American soil. They did not. They didn't do any of those things. They said death to America. Okay, that was a chant that they did. They didn't bomb the United States. They didn't terrorize the United States. They didn't do any assassinations to U.S. officials. They didn't do any of that.
How do you know that, though? How do you know? But
okay,
why did Obama feel inclined to do what he did then, in Syria and all that with the proxies in Iran? Why did Obama feel necessary to do that? Why has, since the beginning of time, every United States president, every United States leader, president or not, said we can't allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon? Why then? That's
we all agree that it's not a good idea for them to have a nuclear weapon. We all agree on that. This whole conversation goes back to the initial question so far. Now, history may turn out to be in your favor. But what I'm saying is you cannot objectively say that between the JCPOA that Obama put in place and the war or whatever you want to call this that Trump allowed to happen,
Kerfuffle.
working with Netanyahu, okay, kerfuffle. You can't say that it's been effective. You can't say it's been as effective. 17 people have died. Hundreds of people on their side have died as a direct cause of this, bro. So you were going to make a point about the reptilian brain. So what were you gonna say about that?
And I don't want to in any way seem non-empathetic or emotionally open or available, because I do. God bless. I sympathize heavily because if I was in that situation, I would be a wreck as well myself. But you can't openly say it. You can't, like, if you're a military family, a Gold Star family, or you have a service member, or God forbid, I pray, or God help you, I pray for everybody who's lost someone in this conflict, in this war, whatever you want to call it. But when you sign up for that, you know that that outcome is a very strong possibility, whether through conflict or not. Look, more service members pass away, Len, just in training exercises than they do in active conflict. And that's a fact. We could look those numbers up. When we throw that around and go, look, all these people pass, what kills me is the civilians that are as a result of this. My point to the reptilian brain is this: once they opened their mouth and said that and did those things, it's on and cracking, dude. And then all the little pokes and all the little shadow games and proxy wars and all those things. If it's a war, it's a war. And if we look at the past and history of wars, this is what happens in wars. So we shouldn't.
So you're saying we've been in war with Iran since '79? We have not.
It's been a Cold War. It's been a Cold War.
No, it has not.
Yeah,
no, it has
Len,
not.
It's been a Cold War.
The United States has been in a Cold War with Russia. The United States has been in a kinetic war with Iran, Afghanistan, Vietnam, Korea. They've had some conflicts with the Iranians here and there, but it hasn't been a Cold War. And the other thing that I just want to wrap up my point about is that Iran has been
hijacked.
They've been a country that's been invaded all of these years, and they wanted to exercise their power to become a superpower in the Middle East again, because being, the Persians and having a great empire for thousands and thousands of years, then you had, Russia come in, then you had Britain come in. And then from their perspective, again, I'm not saying that I agree with them.
No, I know
from their perspective, they wanted to say, you know what, we want control over our own oil, because British came in. That's where British Petroleum started, the company BP, because of Iran's oils.
Arco.
Right. So, Sunoco.
For all you Arco fans.
Yeah. So here's the thing. The United States and Iran have not been at war since 1979. Now, tensions have risen since then, but remember, they had Mossadegh that was democratically elected, and then the West started meddling with their affairs there again. And so all over, so if you look at it from the perspective of the Iranians, all of these outside actors have had a voice in how their economics played out, how their politics played out, and they didn't want any part of it. And so when this recent war just happened back in February, they said, you know what? We're done. We're not going to allow people to continue, and we're going to exercise the leverage on the Strait of Hormuz. And that's what they're doing. And because they can, and they will, and as long as the United States doesn't do what they want, they're going to continue to make the Strait of Hormuz an issue until, like we talked about 2 podcast episodes ago, is that people are finally going to start building around. But that's going to take 10 years at least.
It's going to take a year to 2 years, Len. I don't know why you think it's going to take so long.
Okay, I've been right most of the time along the way here, man.
I don't understand how you or why you think it's going to take a year to 2, or why you think it's going to take 10 years.
Because if the moment Iran starts
why.
to see
I know
Saudi Arabia digging a trench between them and the other strait on the other side of the Persian Gulf.
They're saying, please do it. They're
Iran is going to bomb them and they're going to drone them to smithereens, bro. And they're going to do everything they can to stop the progress of that building.
And that's exactly why this is all lining up to be a long-term goal situation to make it irrelevant. Because when you start having other Middle Eastern nations build infrastructure, civilian infrastructure, to get around the harassment that is Iran, and then Iran starts bombing that or attacking that, it's game over for them at that point. That right there is the proverbial stake in the dagger to the vampire. Then at that point, if they do that,
I don't know why you think that, because you keep then it's underestimating them. Because then you're at active war with your neighboring countries in that area, and you're telling me that they're going to be able to survive that? They are right now, bro. Like the moment
they are right now because imagine if
United States and Israel bombed them, and that's why they attacked those other countries.
Len, imagine if we're talking a year from now, 2 years from now, and there is a NATO-like alliance, but it's in the Middle Eastern countries. Iran's cooked. They're cooked and they know it. And this is the last little dying piece of leverage that they have before they go kaput. And they know this. They know this, Len. They know it. They all know it because these are desperate acts. They're desperate.
Okay, let's make this last 2 minutes so we can move on to the next thing.
I do have one question for you though. That I wanted to ask before we got to this.
Okay.
Because we talk about this and everybody's talking about this. And you mentioned the people of Iran. And it's funny because I don't know if it's propaganda or whatever, but did you hear about that leaked report or something that came out or got released or something? And it shows like 90% negative or 80 or some crazy number negative sentiment from the actual people in Iran that don't want this going on. And then they want the current leadership gone and they want to be back the way it was. Have you seen that
I have not seen or heard that, and I don't believe that. I don't believe the number's 90%.
You're saying that normal everyday Iranians like the current regime? Because the overwhelming data suggests the opposite, that the real Iranian people that have been under hijack since the late 70s, those people don't want this.
Okay, but here's the challenge. When you do a funeral and you show 5 caskets of your leaders and a little baby casket, it creates a visceral response. There were over 9 million people at that funeral. So they didn't force them to come out and
How do you know that though? How do you know that?
But how do you know that? How do you know the opposite?
How do you know? Because you do know that they have subjugation over their populace.
Dude,
like for example, they could turn your electricity off. They could turn your water off,
Chris.
If you don't go and parade for me.
So we're both making assumptions about the fact that
but a lot of what I'm saying is fact, is it not? Because we see this stuff happen in communists and dictatorships all the time.
The only thing that but that means that. Okay, if there were 9 million people, it's a country of 90 million, bro. So you're telling me that they just handpicked the 10% to come out and support the whole funeral procession?
I don't know. I mean, Kamala Harris rallies were done the same way.
Dude,
we know those were fake.
Stop. Those are 2 different issues. You can't do that, Chris. So here's the thing, Chris. Here's the thing is that I don't believe for 1 second that 90% of the people are against the regime. I believe they're widely unpopular, but I wouldn't believe for 1 second because of the fact that when you look from their perspective, they've had invaders after invaders after invaders, and they want to be
even before
free,
that. They were invaders too. Everybody was an invader.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is in Iran itself, so many different foreign actors have been there. And so I don't believe 90% of the people are against the current regime. Now, I could be wrong. If you find me some reliable research, I'll stand corrected. I'll be the first to admit it. I just don't believe that number. I believe that number number's way
came
too
out.
high.
Who knows? It came out. I'll have to find it.
Find the resource. In fact, yeah, we can post that once
we can find it.
I would love to see that, because I don't believe that number, by the way. So
I thought I'd ask you about it, because when I seen it, I went, I got to ask Len about this, because it seems like it's way crazy. And who knows? Maybe it is right. Maybe it isn't. But I can say that with confidence that the majority of that country does not like where it's at.
Now, I would go with the majority, but that majority is 51%. Now, I could go with that, bro.
51?
I'm not, no. Okay, let me be clear. I'm not saying that 51% are against them. What I'm saying is that a majority constitutes 51%. So I think the number is closer to 51% than it is to 90. If you were to ask me to ballpark it, I think it's 60-40. I think 60 is against, 40 is for.
I think you could maybe be, I can get behind the 60-40, simply because if you asked 10, 20 years ago, I think it'd be more towards 90.
Perhaps. So, and it's interesting because this war has been going on for so long, and that, after 60 days, Congress is supposed to have a say in what happens. And, so is it where they start the kinetic fighting and then they stop and they make it a ceasefire, that the 60 days start over? Is that how that works? Because
I'm not sure how that works.
I think there's a formula there.
I was going to ask you, how does that work? Because how do we get to restart? And you know what's crazy is we're bombing the crap out of them, and it doesn't even make headlines anymore. This is how absurd. This is how absurd this is.
Absolutely.
This is how absurd this is.
I agree.
And then I can't help but think about it. I'm going, who's being freaking propped up right now? And that's where my other side of me just goes crazy. And I go, dude, can we get the frick out of this crazy place right now and just let them kill each other over there?
Well, I'm not all for them killing each other, but I definitely agree with you that they need to get
but that's
out
what they
of there.
do. That's what they do.
Well,
they do.
But what's happening right now is most of the death over there right now objectively is being caused by the bombing and the degradation of their infrastructure. And so I just
but you didn't have to attack the ships,
because but it's like, if I flick you on the arm and then you shoot me in the face, bro, like that's asymmetrical. Like the response is way out of whack, bro.
Right, but if you flick me and then I don't do anything about it, then you're gonna tap me, and then if I don't do anything about the tap, then you're gonna lightly hit me, and
you don't know that though. You just assume. So anyway, man,
But wait a minute, hold on. How do you? We won't talk about Iran, but how do you not know this? Because Len, that's history. That's human history. We've seen that throughout human history. As soon as somebody takes a little bit and they can get away with it, they're going to take more and 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 more. That's why we have Joseph Stalin and Chairman Mao and Adolf Hitler.
Well, then
and Alexander the Great and Marcus Aurelius.
So let's flip it. Let's flip it and say, okay, as soon as one ship is able to go through, two ships go. And as soon as two ships goes, then 4 and then 8 and then 16 and then 32 and 64.
It's an international waterway. What's wrong with that? It's an international waterway.
But according to the MOU, it says on the MOU, and we'll move on from here, the Strait of Hormuz, Iran will use its best efforts to allow the safe passage of commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz without transit changes for 60 days. Now, potential translation, this is just Len Cooper talking. When they say
I track with you.
Their best efforts to allow the safe passage, they may say, look, if you're going down there towards Oman, we put some little pew-pews over there under the water, and you might not make it through. So you should come through us. So I'm just saying that could be an interpretation. But speaking of Congress, man, it's a tragedy, and I want to take time to pause and just say that I know by the time this airs, this may not be trending news, but on July 11th, Lindsey Graham passed away. He was 72 years old, out of South Carolina. And now his sister has been sworn in to assume his office on a temporary basis. And regardless of one's politics, regardless of which side they're on, nobody should ever be okay with somebody dying. And so I want to take the time to just, to give respect where respect is due. On the flip side of that, you have Mitch McConnell, who's been hospitalized and he's in ill health. I don't know. I can't say for certain that it's
No one
failing
knows.
health.
It's a secret.
We don't know. We don't know. And this all comes back to our discussion point, which is we have, I was doing some research in preparation for this conversation. Check this out, Chris. 57.5% of the Senate, the Senate median age is 57.5.
Oh, my Lord.
And the 64.7 the House was 57.5. The Senate, check this out, 64.7.
Oh.
The median age, we're not talking average, we're talking median. Like that's a much more significant number
Than an average.
And so I wanted to just put set aside the ill health of the different senators and talk about term limits, because once you get to a certain age, man, I just think that there's a point in which you need to set aside your own ego and allow somebody else to come in and become the representative of that place. Now, shame on the people for, electing folks over and over and over beyond that point. But, here's the hard part, Chris, is that in order to change the rules, it actually has to be a constitutional amendment. They can't just vote on it.
Right.
So, so just saying that people should have term limits in the House and in the Senate, you can't just make a vote on it. So I wanted to get your ideas about how do you think there should be this massive push towards term limits, which means that there would have to be an amendment? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think first and foremost, the incentive needs to be dropped. Now, Here's the cool thing about Lindsey Graham that I didn't know. And I'm not a Lindsey Graham fan or supporter. God rest his soul. But he died with a very small net worth, 1.2 million or something like that. You heard about that, Len? His financials?
I didn't hear about his financials, no.
So when he passed, he passed 1.1 million, something like that. No more than 1.5 million. Okay. So by Senate standards, the guy was extremely poor, very poor.
Sure.
He wasn't poor, but he's well off, obviously. I mean, that's still
but by Senate standards, yeah.
But even by given his age, he was 71. Even by that standard in the professional arena, that's normal. That's in the normal to upper normal, and that professional standard to die with a 1.2 million in net worth after you took care of all your expenses. And
if you're a good steward of your finances,
perfect.
Sure.
I like you follow some Dave Ramsey stuff and you play it good and solid and all that. So that was pretty shocking to me. But at the same time, I was like, way to go, dude. Okay, cool. You didn't become extremely wealthy like a lot of these other you-know-whats do. Mm-hmm. Here's the problem, though, and I think this is where we could fix this. You got to take away the incentive to stay in Congress and to stay in Senate or the House of Reps. Let's just say Congress, because that's really what it is. You got to take away the incentive, because
when you say incentive, what do you mean by that?
Because Congress is the ultimate cush corporate job if you stay elected. With the ultimate, and that's why a lot of these guys fight like hell to stay elected and do the crap they do, because it's the ultimate cush job. You get to get a really good 6-figure salary and all your crap's paid for. Like you have the ultimate credit card. Yeah. Like you have donors. Like think about
great benefits too.
And great benefits. You pay for nothing. Mm-hmm. These guys don't really pay for anything. Are you serious? Like think about how much freebies these guys get. Think how much these guys get free everything. Mm-hmm. Free. Some of these guys that are high profile, like what we're talking about here, have security, right? So think about this for a second. You're in Kentucky making 100, or South Carolina making 100. What was he making? $175,000, $180,000 a year was his congressional salary, plus all the benefits and the perks he gets. Plus he's been there for how long? 20, 30 years.
Long time, yeah.
Bro, you are so cush. It's so cush. Mm-hmm. And then coupled with the fact that, Len, if you've been in that position for at least 10 years, where the hell are you going to go work after you leave that? and make that kind of money without having to go get educated. I can't even see it. What is it?
174.
Bro, can you imagine living in Oklahoma making $174,000 or South Carolina making $174,000?
That's like 300 here in Cali.
Bro, think about that, right?
Right.
Think about that. Plus all the bonus, all the fat trimmings that these guys get.
Because of the 174, you're not spending a lot, because
why would you? Why would you want to get out of that? And you have connections. So then you look at all these other guys like Swalwell and, Newsom and all these people right on the right too. I'm probably missing a lot of those guys too. McConnell, this is why these guys stay there. So I think a good starting point would be, dude, and it'd be your congressional salary should cap at the poverty level for the state that you're serving in. So in other words, if poverty level income is $50,000 a year in whatever, I'm just throwing it out there, Oklahoma, that's your congressional salary. Not a penny more. You get to live just like the people you say you're working for, the working people. Like, imagine for me for a second, Len, I guarantee you the AOC would not have as much spunk in her step if they busted her salary down to what to the poverty level salary in Queens in her district. She wouldn't be so happy. She wouldn't even be in Congress anymore. I promise you that. She wouldn't be. Because that's the thing. These people can get in there and we allow them to suck off the teat and they stay there. And no disrespect to anybody, but because it is what it is. That they game the system. So if we could take away the incentive for them to live upper middle class lives just like that, that game over. And then coupled on that with term limits, you would have such a highly functioning government again, and had such a trim, lean, mean, libertarian style government, and America would be unstoppable in so many ways. And there'd be a lot of happiness.
I think though, I agree with you, by the way. I believe every single point you just said there with regard to their salaries and their incentives and all of those things. I also think that the people in their districts have some onus of responsibility because they still ultimately have to be elected into office. And so if the people decide to get smart about who their officials are and learn all of their officials' issues and begin to look at what they do compared to what they say and to see if there's an alignment there. When there's no alignment, there should be a concerted effort to get them out. But what happens is we get so accustomed to who's in office that represents our area. And if they haven't had any major scandal, if they haven't had any, extra financial issues or extra relational issues or anything like that, then it's like, okay, the bar is so low nowadays that they continue to be placed in office. And so what happens is it's like, okay, well, I'd rather have somebody in there that I know than somebody in there that I don't. And I think that's a problem. And so when you have people like the Grahams and the AOCs and the Swalwells and the McConnells and just keep going down the list, they keep getting elected over and over and over and over. They start to get comfortable and then they start doing what's in their own best interest and start having all of these little sidebar conversations and cliques and coalitions and all of these things. When you become so savvy that you can maneuver and work all of the loopholes, I think that's where it becomes the problem. Because now I understand there should be some level of where you have a constant influx of new people and then a good number of people that are seasoned. And so if the election cycles were staggered like that, I think it'd be a much more healthy Congress. But when you have people in there that know all of the inner workings of Capitol Hill and they find these ways to maneuver about to get their way, they're not representing us anymore. They're representing their own interest. And then they use their mouth to spew out rhetoric because they know we'll follow like sheeple because we don't take the time to really delve into what they say. So we got to take responsibility for the fact that even though there are no term limits, they still have to be voted in. That's on us.
Let me ask you this then, and this is something interesting here. Since you're saying that, recent polls, because this is so bizarre to me, California How is it that Becerra is at 61% and Hilton at 36%? How is this possible? How is it that Becerra is even 1 point ahead of Hilton? Because Becerra has an absolute abysmal track record, and he just gets inserted into California politics. How is that then, with what you just said, Len? How is he even in this situation you're in? If it's all
Chris,
voters,
you're telling me, you gotta understand this. You're underscoring my point, brother.
So tell me then, Len, if it's the voter base, how is it that Becerra is ahead of Hilton when Becerra has no proven track record?
Okay, first of all, he served in the Obama administration.
No, he was in the Biden administration too, wasn't he?
Yes, both.
And he got kicked out. He was like
No,
or he had a lot of scandal. There's a lot of scandal around him.
No, his people. He had like one of his attorney generals or somebody like that. Don't quote me on the title, but there was some financial improprieties. But it never came back to him. But that's a separate issue. So to answer your question specifically, one, he's a known player in the Democratic Party. And that goes to my other point. He's a Democrat. You know, California is very blue. So Hilton comes in, nobody knows who he is. He hasn't served in Congress, and he's on the red side. There's no way in the world, because once who was the other person that was Steyer. Yes. Once he was out of the race, so Steyer took all of Becerra's numbers. And so that's why Hilton was polling up. Once Steyer was out of the race, it's a 2-person race, because you also had the sheriff from Riverside County that was taking some of Hilton's numbers. So once he was out, Hilton got a bit of a bump. But once Steyer went out, because it was really a 3-person race. So the people aren't going to go from Steyer over to Hilton. They're not going to do that. In California, are you kidding me? They're going to go to Becerra. And so when you look at the demographic makeup of California, and you look at the political makeup of California, unless the reason why, when was the last time we had a Republican governor? Was it Reagan? Okay, Schwarzenegger. Why is that? What's in common between Reagan? Okay, so yeah, Pete Wilson, Reagan, and Schwarzenegger. Those are the last 3 in recent history. 2 of the 3 were well known because they were actors. And so when you look at the voting history of California, to the point that I mentioned earlier, is that people should look at the individuals and their issues and how they serve. But at least with the governor, there's a term limit. When we look at Congress, the House and the Senate, bro, like that's way different. If people don't like the governor, after 6 years, they're out. So
8 years, isn't it, governor?
In California, I think it's 6 years.
No, Newsom's been in it for 8 years.
No, I think each term. What is the term?
While you're looking up did they pass that yet? I think they were close. It passed all the assemblies, and it just needs a Newsom signature. Where you guys are going to have the software service tax now in California.
Mm-hmm.
And private insurance premiums are going to get taxed more because they're out of money.
The term of the state of governor is 4 years.
Okay, and you can run twice.
Right? Yeah. So 8 years.
So 8 years
total.
8 years is a long time to screw shit up.
It is, but it's so much less than 30.
This is true. But that's my point, though, Len, is what you're saying is voters. They're not even voting because they even know who he is or his track record is. They're just voting because they see a blue D there.
Yep, and that's happens ridiculous. On both sides.
You realize how ridiculous. So
that's
when
why
is the pain point enough?
All of us as voters need to get smart. And that's why we have podcasts like this, where you have 2 people that have different views, man. That's why I like having this conversation, because you can present one side, I can present another, and sometimes they collide. And that's how humans are. Like, I don't always agree with you. You don't always agree with me. And vice versa. We don't always disagree with each other. And just like anybody in office, I never always agreed with any president. And I don't always disagree with Trump just because I don't like him, just because I think that he's a narcissist and I think he's corrupt in so many ways. I cannot tell you that I disagree with every one of his policies. That would be disingenuous. And so Why? Because I seek out truth. And I think that as a collective voting population, we need to do the same, regardless if there's a D or an R by their name, or an I, by the way, because you heard Manchin's trying to get the guy from Pennsylvania over.
Yeah. Is it Fetterman? Is that
Fetterman?
What it was?
Yes.
Yeah,
Fetterman,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think there needs to be a third, because this is,
I agree.
It's just stale, and nobody and the Democrats are allowing these radical side of their party to completely take over the Democratic Party, because look, the right side, there's an extreme right, and we know that that's ugly too. Mm-hmm. That's just as ugly as the extreme left stuff. It needs to be right in the center, and that's where I think we'll find the balance. That's where again.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, the Republican Party shifted way right, and then the Democratic Party shifted way less. And to your point, that's where I think the Independent Party should come up, because, like I said, I'm a registered independent. I look at all the issues. I don't vote one way or another. If you go and look at my outside of president, if you look at my voter record, I vote on both sides of the aisle. And the only reason why I bring up that president's because it just so happens that I started voting when Obama ran, because I didn't vote. I wasn't really into politics like that. And so then I voted for him the second term. And then I was open to voting for a Republican. I was looking at Rubio, I was looking at Christie. And then when they got booted out by Trump, and it was Trump versus Biden, I listened to the issues, and I just
Trump
really
versus
didn't
Hillary.
see. Yes, first. That's right. Trump, Hillary. So I just decided, but it wasn't because she was a Democrat. It was because I didn't agree with his policies, and I didn't agree with his perspective. I didn't agree with his approach. I didn't agree that he was presidential, and that's the reason why I didn't vote for him. But the next presidential election, more than likely, based on what I'm seeing right now, I'm open. I don't know which side of the aisle I'm going to vote on, and so I'm not a guy that's just going to vote D, because I don't represent either of those parties.
I think that if Hillary would have got elected, you would have been wearing a red shirt with a hammer and a sickle on it right now.
Stop.
Just saying, bro.
Her husband was in office. She was in office for all those years, 2 terms. It didn't happen. In fact, one of the best economic times happened when she was in the White House. You can't deny
the
that,
90s boom up until the crash of the early or late 90s.
You could
say the same thing for you could say the same thing for Bush. Bush rode that massive economic wave and then handed Obama a crash. I mean, it's the same thing. Clinton rode a massive economic boom and then handed Bush Jr. a crash. Luckily for Bush Jr., 9/11 happened and he got a war economy, right? So, I mean, what president doesn't want a war economy? I mean,
war does great for the economy, man.
War is big money. War is big money. Speaking of money,
yes, great segue.
Speaking of money, the AI ROI myth that's happening and circling, and obviously Michael Burry has been a big call out. His biggest thing is that they just keep recycling the money, right? They keep self-feeding each other and cannibalizing each other by committing to buy chips and then committing to sell chips and then committing to buy compute power on those chips that we bought in this cycle and in this circle. And we've seen those types of things happen before. But the critics of Michael Burry argue that this is going to create massive economic outputs as a result. Where are you at with it, Len? Valuations are crazy right now. The market is throwing out these big numbers and is believing in this stuff. Jensen Huang just came out and said that we're in the beginning of the AI boom. It hasn't even started yet. And they've been hot for how long? NVIDIA's been hot for, so what say you on that, Len? Is it going to make money? Is it big money? Is it not going to make big money? Is it just another way, just another service? Are the cows going to come home to moo, the chickens to roost? Where are you at with it?
So I think the first wave of investors in SpaceX are going to get obliterated because the company is way overpriced, and that's starting to come down. In fact, the last I saw, the shares were down 35-40%.
I haven't even looked at it.
It's been really bad. Like, they've taken major hits. Now, of course, they'd be dumb to get out right now. So if they have any brain whatsoever, ride out this massive, massive downturn in valuation. But what's going on overall is those 7 companies, like, the FANG companies.
1985 as of today.
Yeah. So, that's it's a big difference. And so what's happening is AI and the tech bros have really over evaluated the stock market right now. And so what's happening is, for whatever reason, the stock keeps getting propped up. And eventually what's going to happen is, every time when you had the dot-com burst, and when you had the Great Depression, and you had all of these different situations economically, what happened is the debt to GDP was way out of whack and the markets were way overpriced. And eventually there's going to be a regression to the mean. And when that regression to the mean happens, the retail investors are going to get screwed unless they understand how to ride it. And so Michael Burry is definitely eventually going to be right. I believe in his hypothesis. I believe that the stock market is overpriced. I believe that AI is overpriced. I think there's going to be a massive, massive reduction, just like what happened with oh my gosh, starts with the Amazon. They lost 95% of their valuation, and now they're one of the world's biggest. And so I think there's going to be a major dip there. But of course, Jensen Huang's going to say everything's great because, being the CEO of Nvidia, you've got to make sure that your shareholders have a massive amount of optimism. And so as long as people stay optimistic, the stock market's going to be fine, because as we both know, you can look at the financials, you can look at the year-end returns, you can look at the profits and all of those things. But at the end of the day, the market, the stock market itself as a whole, it is based on emotion. People buy high and they sell low, even though we all know that you're supposed to buy low and sell high. They base it on emotions. And so with retail investors, eventually they're going to get wiped out. Especially when this major crash happens, I think, I'm guessing 27, 28, there's going to be a major market correction and people are going to fall by the wayside. Last point. If you take a look at Warren Buffett, what is he doing? He's got like $400 billion of cash that he's just sitting on. He's waiting for the blood to be in the street. He's waiting and he's patient. He's 95, 99 years old.
Some insane number.
He's just shy of 100, right? And he's been around. He's seen a lot. He's been investing more than most of us have been alive. And so I look at his clue and his actions and say, you know what? He's keeping his money out because he understands very clearly something's amiss in the stock market. And it's just a matter of time before the market corrects.
I don't think I'm worried about SpaceX. I think long-term SpaceX is a winner.
Long-term, it'll be fine.
I think it's bigger. I think anything Elon Musk is bigger than anything.
Did you jump in? Did you jump in and take any position?
I did. I still hold it. I'm still holding it.
And you better.
And I'm not, I like the long game on it because I think SpaceX actually has a lot of tangible products. And I think where Elon Musk differentiates himself is that Elon Musk has a lot of, like, Tesla was genius. I mean, Tesla was such a genius move because he has such a cash cow with Tesla, and it's generated so much free cash flow because of, obviously, everybody wants electric vehicles, all those things. But what I do look at and I do worry about is I do worry about the companies that are like the cloud-based companies and the SaaS companies and the NVIDIAs, because what happens to NVIDIA if all of a sudden AMD or a competitor creates a chip or creates a platform that makes NVIDIA, that challenges NVIDIA's position? That company's dead, right? Like,
China's trying to do that as we speak.
You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So what happened? Like, what happens all of a sudden if TSMC or not, but like a rival, like AMD? What happens if AMD all of a sudden cracks some type of code somewhere, and then all of a sudden, boom, they rival the foothold, the moat that NVIDIA has. See, that's the thing that I worry about with something like an NVIDIA.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to have this thing.
And then also with China, when you're looking at its position where they may try to take over Taiwan. What does that mean because of all the microchips that are manufactured there? And there's a lot of headwinds potentially that are in that await us in the near future. And I'm definitely concerned about it.
But I think too, what did you see this the other day, where I think S&P was like one of the only ones that didn't cave. And what basically is that like index funds and indexes, normally there's a cooling period, like a 12-month or 6-month or something cooling period before you let IPO stocks and stuff like that into indexes, so that because that creates a lot of volatility. And now I think S&P was the only one that didn't cave, especially with SpaceX, where you have a lot of indexes that allowed SpaceX into these funds. So you're getting all that volatility. You're getting a lot of volatility in because you mentioned people could get wiped out. What you're seeing right now is a very dangerous thing, especially with the elimination of the PDD rule, pattern day trade. While I hate the pattern day trading rule, there are a lot of people that are in support of it, and I like it, but it just opens up a lot where here I am talking about regulation. I hate regulation, but you for the first time ever, you have a lot of retail where you can
because they had the $25,000 limit before, and now it's gone.
But not only that, you think you're investing in an index fund, which is safe, but it's got volatility now in it because you're allowing, and kudos to S&P. They're the ones who did. I want to say S&P didn't cave. They said, no, 12 months before we can allow this stuff in there. So if you look at, let's see here, the Mag 7 for the year, NVIDIA's up 9.1%. Amazon's up 9.8%. Tesla's down 14%. Apple's up. Apple's has been surging lately, 20% up. Alphabet's up 16%. Microsoft's down 18%, and Meta is flat. Those are your traditional high performers that have been for like the last 8 or 10 years or whatever. Right? And then there's a new core of them too with all the AI stocks. But
NVIDIA, Palantir, yeah.
So far, the market's crazy. It's still hot. It's still burning. Somebody sees something. But the key differentiator here that I see, Len, that I think is the quiet part, I hate that phrase, but the quiet part out loud is that you're seeing a lot of these AI companies rush to get IPOs now, right? And normally when you see a lot of companies like this rush for IPO money, it's because they've ran out of the private money. And they're needing this private capital, the private retail market to keep things going. And that's never a good sign. Because that's usually, like you said, the ones that get left holding the proverbial bag. So
what's going on with OpenAI. I mean, you're talking their income is like in the billions and their expenses are in the trillions, and
it's so out of whack. It's so out of whack.
But all companies that have major infrastructure start off that way. That's no different than the car industry. That's no different than the internet. And again, the first wave of investors get wiped out, but then the second and third generation get to reap the benefits because that technology is undeniable. It's just, you've got to understand trends and you have to understand history to really understand that. And so, like for me, I'm waiting on the sidelines. I'm going to wait for the dip for SpaceX. And then that's when I'll jump in. But right now, I don't want to ride that wave down. So that's just me. No advice. That's just,
I like a little.
And the great thing about me and you is we both took different approaches. So that's good. So some of the audience may say, they're like, hey, let's think long term. Let's ride this wave down. And then you can also, as it's going down, do dollar cost averaging and just, keep buying a little bit here and a little bit there, because it's a good investment approach too. It's just, look, every time you get paid, every time you get a bonus, every time you get extra money, just put some in the market. And eventually the market's going to end up in your favor. And if you try to time it, no matter what, you're going to lose. You may get lucky a couple of times, but it's just long term, it's not a good bet. So just,
if you're going to play around, just be prepared to lose everything. I mean, that's really all there is to it.
Absolutely.
So, speaking of losing everything, as we kind of get to the tail end here of things, I don't want to, are we mentioning any names? I know we're talking about it, but I mean, the rumors are that Floyd Mayweather is broke. And I know the rumor started a couple years ago saying like he owed like gambling debt, like 50 million or something to MGM. But I don't want to talk specifically about him. But what is the reoccurring thing here now that you start to see with athletes, and I know this has been talked about a lot, but why does this happen the majority of the time, and why do you not see more success stories like Tom Brady and Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan and Shaq? Why do you not see more of that? Like, why do you? Because Mayweather was huge. I mean, he was a GOAT, right? Mm-hmm. So he's in that category. Why do you see this happen? Why is it? And I know there's probably a very easy answer for it, which is, we know that because we've talked about it, but I just don't understand why leagues or whoever doesn't get around people like this and just, is it the ego? What is it, Len? What's your take on this with this? Because it's happened. I mean, I've seen it happen all my life. I mean, I remember the first time I seen it happen was with Mike Tyson. Mm-hmm. So but now Mike Tyson's turned it around and he's in a lot better situation. So what happens here? What's going on here?
Well, some of the facts, just because you brought up Floyd Mayweather in particular, is a couple of quick stats. Let's see.
So studious all the time, Len.
Hey, man, I try to do my homework. So there was some allegations that he'd written a $200,000 bad check and for a watch. And Business Insider reported lawsuits alleging unpaid rent and jewelry bills and bonuses. And Business Insider also reported a $7.3 million IRS lien. And so one thing about Floyd is that his brand is money. Like, you've seen him lighting up cigars with $100
burning
bills.
Money. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think probably what happens is sometimes, to answer your bigger question, which is, if it bleeds, it leads, and bad news always travels faster than good news. And because it's more salacious, I think there are lots of incidences where people, especially years and years ago, would become an athlete. They lived this amazing life. And because they hadn't had any financial literacy training, or if they haven't had any, allowed people who are financial advisors in their lives, because you heard what happened to Kareem. He had a group of CPAs and accountants, and they embezzled all of his money. And so a lot
that's
of
also athletes, common too.
Absolutely.
That's very common too.
And that's the thing, because what happens is, as an athlete, I've been adjacent to a few different athletes because my kids played sports against them. And growing up, I played against a few people who became pros and know a couple of them from afar. I'm not definitely saying that I'm friends with any of them. I won't name any names, but one of the things that I learned just being adjacent to that space, afar adjacent, which is growing up, their entire lives, they've lived in a bubble. They've always been told they're the best. They've always been the best at everything they've done athletically. And so people would come around them, and it was very difficult for them to know who to trust because, sometimes they trust somebody and they'd end up getting burned. So then what people do is they say, okay, besides having an agent to negotiate their contracts, I'm not going to have some guy come in and embezzle all of my money. I'll make some decisions. I'll figure it out myself. And because we go to school, we never really learn about how money works. And so we think because we've been around money, or we think because we make money, we know how to make decisions with the money we have. And so what happens? We're in a consumer-based society. So the more money we make, the more money we spend. So we go and we start off, we buy mom and dad a house, we buy mom and dad a car, and then we've got to go and have the jewelry so we can show how we've made it, and so on and so forth. And so now you have all of these consumable items. So going back to this issue of why athletes aren't making better decisions, because they typically don't allow the right people in their lives to help them make good financial decisions. And then they end up, some of them don't just spend their money on things. They'll buy bad companies. They'll invest in the wrong things. So, because they're having people around them give them all of these ideas, and it's very difficult because, for them, they're lockstep in their sport. So that's all they do.
They
don't have time to negotiate the fine print of that business plan. They don't have time to go and look at the financials and look at the deltas and, the derivatives and all of those reports. They don't have time for that. So either they have to look and take what somebody says at face value and hope they're telling them the truth, or they hear something that sounds good and they make a decision and it ends up turning out bad. And so, unfortunately, the more money you have, the bigger the mistakes you can make. And then you've got the people like the Mayweathers of the world. He trust me, he's not broke. He's got money, but the problem is that he's going through it so quickly. And by the time he's in his 70s and his 80s, if he does not curtail his lifestyle, one of the reasons why he decided to take on another fight was because he needed to make some more money, because he's starting to see and do the math. Like, okay, I've got all of these watches, I've got all of these homes, but at some point in time, I can't keep spending like this. And so, it's unfortunate. But I'll say this last thing. One thing that I am seeing, though, is I am seeing a lot more athletes put themselves in the right positions. Like for example, a guy by the name of Andre Iguodala. He lives in the Silicon Valley area. He's been very thrifty with his own personal money. Like Anthony Edwards, he doesn't spend any of his NBA money. He only spends his endorsements. And so, and then, like Andre Iguodala, he's finding different investment groups and he's buying different companies and he's doing quite well for himself, but he put himself around the right people. And that's the key.
Yeah. I think too, the situation that what you're saying is a lot of it's self-inflicted. And it is relative, right? I mean, it's relative to given to their situation. And you said they can get in a lot more trouble. They have more money to spend. I think they're also easier targets.
Big time.
So I think you have a lot of combination with that. And whether it's the people you think that are there to help you, they're undercutting you and siphoning and embezzling. And then it's you spending and being just like any other normal human being would be. You just have 20 million now instead of $20, right? And it's all relative. So now you can blow through money a lot faster when you have a lot than you do when you don't have a lot. So I just wish that there was a better approach for a lot of people, but that is such is the game, right? That we play in here and we do. But I do think too, getting back to your other point, you see this a lot with I think you see the inverse now, where you have big superstars that have kids, where their kids are not as successful as them. Where I think you need more struggle to have the success, and I think those that have less struggle don't have as much success. By and large, 80%, 80-20 rule, obviously totally to everything. But at any rate, it'll be an interesting week to see what happens. Obviously, the Strait of Hormuz is still a point of contention, Len, but oil prices are still relatively low. So I'm happy about that.
They're at 83 now. They're growing. I bet you by this time next week, they're going to be $90.
I don't think so.
It's going to be $90.
I think it's at 82 right now. It's been holding right around there.
82, like 90. It's close to 83.
82. It's at 82 right now.
Is it? Okay, then it went down the last couple of hours.
It's kind of like I think it's been fluctuating around there.
Yeah,
I mean, if you look at it right now, it's like 82.41. It's up 63 cents for the day, which I'm not happy about. But I don't think it's having look here. So far, the impact is not what we thought it was going to be.
This is true.
Again, I think that has a result with circumvention of that. But we'll see what happens.
Gas is going to be $90 next Monday.
We'll see. Okay.
That's my
If
guess.
gas is $90, I will buy you lunch on Monday. We'll settle it there. Okay. We'll just settle it.
I don't feel that confident. You don't have to buy me lunch.
No, you don't have to buy me anything. I'm just saying I'll treat you to a Starbucks or whatever it is that you decide to poison yourself with. I mean, everybody needs a little poison every now and then.
I'll take a nice big bottle of water, man.
Hey, even that sometimes, could be deadly.
This is a fact.
Len, enjoyed our afternoon. We'll see you next Monday. Until then, if you like the content, like and subscribe. We always welcome new additions to our group here. And if you feel compelled to comment, we'd love to hear from you as well and maybe return some banter with you. Len?
Sounds good. Well, hey, looking forward to next time, Chris. It's always great to have conversations with you. Until next week, my friend, take care. Be safe.
Adios.
Conversation has given you clarity on your next steps. Please share this episode with someone who's walking the same path. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. And remember, planning ahead isn't just prudent, it's an act of care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Family Office.